Good evening everyone and welcome to this webinar on social media for social enterprises, case of Facebook. This is the fourth webinar in the series of webinars being conducted by the Harvard University South Asia Institute as part of the Tata Trust project. This webinar will be presented by Ritesh Mehta from Facebook. Ritesh is the head of economic growth initiatives, India and South Asia at Facebook. Ritesh was responsible for building and growing the user operations team for Facebook in India, as well as building out new functions and teams that cater to both international and APAC markets, while focusing on improving the overall product quality and user experience for Facebook users. He is also a key member as well as a mentor of the local leadership team in India and was part of a small team focused on promoting Facebook as a platform for communication across government and public sectors within India. Now over to Ritesh Mehta.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Kundan, for the introduction and setting the stage. Over the next half an hour or 45 minutes, what we'll do is I'll try and talk through some of the best practices of how your organization, whether it's non-profit or a social enterprise or a for-profit enterprise, can use Facebook to connect with your existing user base, and also what should your content strategies be, how can you elevate the level of content that you're creating, and what types of stories you should be telling. One of the things that I'll say off the bat, since I know the amongst the attendees we have a fair amount of nonprofits who also use Facebook, or those who would like to use Facebook for their causes. Whether you are a for-profit or a non-profit, you have to think of what you are delivering as a product, right? So for example, if you're copper and you sell great things made out of copper, you actually have a physical product that you have to sell. But if you're a non-profit focused on, let's say, stopping acid attacks, you still have a product that you want to make sure you put in front of people, and that product are the stories of people that you have saved, or the survivors, or stories that you want to tell, just in terms of what are the negative impacts of what happens when this go through the society. So as we go through the presentation, I highly encourage all of you to make sure that you are thinking of what you have to share with people, the message, as a product, and that's going to help you land your message really well with your constituents. So now you should all be able to see the presentation and my screen on it. As Kundan mentioned, my name is Ritesh Mehta. I've been with Facebook for 6 years, and my role is focused on economic growth initiative, which means how can we help businesses and entrepreneurs and organizations use Facebook to create jobs, to create growth, to improve incomes, and to help people get their products, their services in front of more and more individuals across the country and across the globe as well. The reason why Facebook becomes important when we talk about nonprofits or enterprises is the world is changing. And then the world is changing very, very quickly. This is a very generic statement, so I'll be more specific in terms of how I think the world is changing very quickly. If we assume that everybody who, all 47 of you who are listening in to this conversation, if you were sitting in a room, and if I had asked you all and said, how many of you are carrying a cell phone or a smartphone, all the hands would have gone up. If I had asked the same question in a room 10 years ago, no hands or very few hands would have gone up. So within a period of 10 years, we have taken the phone out of the house where 4 people used to share a phone, and we have put a phone in every single individual's hands, right? And I remember growing up in the 80s and the 90s, where in our community that was about 20 homes in a society, there used to be 3 or 4 phones. So all the relatives used to call at one of these places, and now each of those houses probably have 3 or 4 cell phones. So the world is changing very, very quickly, because we're putting a lot of power in people's hands through the phones and through connectivity that we provide. And I've said a few times in terms of how this is changing quickly. So here is a quick stat on how quickly it is changing. So let's compare radio, television, digital, and mobile, the 4 primary modes of communication that we've had over the last, I would say, 60 or 70 years. Radio has been invented for years and years and became really popular in 50s and 60s in Europe and North America, in the developed world, and then it was always in India, but the FM radio revolution really kicked it up a notch in the 90s, right? But if you look at overall number of users that have used radio as as a channel of communication have remained pretty much flat over the last 60 to 70 years. That's a long period for a technology to remain flat. After World War II and towards the late 50s, television became popular, and then again in the developed world, televisions took off really, really quickly. So from the mid 50s to about early 70s, every Western household had a television. In India, it came in the 80s, and then in 90s, it really took off. So there we see, but then again, that growth has plateaued. It has flattened out. So radio over a period of 70 years has stayed the same. Television, it took television from its inception to gaining mass popularity, it took about 60 years. Next, we move on to digital. So this is essentially computers, internet. They came about in 80s and 90s, and by 2010, they had really captured the world. Not so much in India, but across the world, it had really captured attention. And within a period of 20 years since it started, it had surpassed television by a long margin, right? So if you think of digital compared to radio, it took digital 12 to 15 years to get to a position that radio got to in about 50 years. And in the next 10 years or so in about 20 years, it got to where television got over a 50 to 60 year, right? So it's a 3 times faster growth that you can see when it comes to digital. And mobile has surpassed all expectations when it comes to growth. So mobile started in about early 2000s. It really became popular in the last 5 to 10 years. And where television got to in about 50 years or so, mobiles are going to get there in about 10 years time, right? So the growth of mobile is phenomenal. So people are spending more and more time with digital and mobile than when you see television, print, radio, anything. So whenever you are talking about building a strategy, when you say, can I get my message across to my users effectively, digital and mobile have to play a part in it. When you are thinking about selling your products, digital and mobile have to play a part in it. And then what we recommend is it has to be about mobile, right? So the world is going mobile. There are more mobile phones now than we have television sets or regular phones or all of those combined, right? Just in India, you've got more mobile phones than what we could have thought of probably 2 years ago. The latest numbers in terms of smartphones show that there are more than 250 million smartphones in India. That's a huge number, right? Which shows that almost more than almost 25% of the country has a smartphone. And the average price of a smartphone and a really good smartphone has come down to 4,500 rupees. So they have also become way more affordable than they have ever been. So this revolution, what we call the mobile revolution, digital revolution, however we want to name it, is not slowing down at any point. In fact, it's actually picking up speed as we go along, and connectivity as a result of that is becoming really strong. What role does Facebook play in all of it? Right? So when you think of Facebook, you have to think of the whole suite of applications that we have on Facebook. So first of all, Facebook, the big blue app, is, as we call it, or the Facebook as the platform. We have 1.6 billion people who use Facebook across the globe every month. This is more than the population of India that actually come to Facebook every single month. So that's a huge number. WhatsApp, more than 1 billion people come to WhatsApp, use WhatsApp every month. Again, a huge number. If you look at the 1.6 billion people who use Facebook every month, out of that 1.6 billion people, 1 billion people use groups every month. So huge number of people actually use groups fairly actively. Again, if you're a non-profit, if you're a for-profit, if you're an organization, along with your Facebook presence and a Facebook page, you also need to start thinking and saying, how do I engage my audiences with Facebook groups? Because as you can see, more than 60% of your users who use a Facebook profile are also going to be using a Facebook group as well. Out of the 1.6 billion people, more than half of them use Facebook Messenger every single month. Right? So that's a huge number as well that use Facebook for one-on-one messaging. 400 million people use Instagram every month. For India, Instagram is not very popular at the moment. It's fairly small, but the growth is very, very strong and very robust. Out of 1.6 billion people that we talked about, more than 1 billion people use Facebook every single day. there is no other platform in the world that can say that more than 1 billion people come and use us every single day to connect with others. So you have a huge opportunity to take advantage of that, right? You have a potential billion people that you can connect with. We'll talk about videos. So here's an interesting stat, which is about 100 million hours of video is being watched on Facebook every single day. And this is the fastest growing content type on our platform. So more than photos, videos are actually growing much and much faster. Even in India, where connectivity on 3G is not as strong, it's improving rapidly, and we see uptick of video across India very, very strong across the board. And then the other interesting stat that I would throw out there for folks who are either enterprises, businesses, or social enterprises, more than 50 million small businesses use Facebook pages across the world. And in India, that number is more than 2 million. Right? So in India, there is a huge upside to it. The growth is strong, but not all businesses who should be on Facebook are on Facebook at the moment in India. So how do this number translate to in India, right? So on every single day, 70 million people, so 7 crore people come and use Facebook every day. And remember how we talked about the mobile story. Out of those 7 crore people, 6.5 crore people do it on the mobile phones. Right? So if you're building content, or if you're building products, or if you're building your messaging for anything, it has to be for mobile. You have to think, what is the screen size that these guys are using it on? What is the resolution that they have on? And that's how you have to build all of your content. So all the examples that you see that I will share with you all today, they're all catered to mobile phones. And then you will see screenshots of how they would look like on an average smartphone. So that's every day. Every day, 7 crore people you come and use Facebook. Every month, it's about more than 14 crore people. So now it has crossed 15 crore people who use Facebook every single month. 15 crore is a huge number, right? If you take all the 4 or 6 biggest cities of India and join up their population, it still does not hit 15 crore. So you've got a huge population of people in India who are on Facebook every single month, every single day. And again, out of 15 crore, 13.5 crore do it on their mobile phones. So the message about doing it on the mobile cannot be stronger. And all of these people are the people who matter to your businesses. All of these people are people who matter to your organizations, because these are real people. Right? If I am Ritesh Mehta, I cannot be Shah Rukh Khan or Ajay Devgan on Facebook. I cannot be Virat Kohli on Facebook. I have to be Ritesh Mehta on Facebook. So every single individual is an authentic representation of themselves on Facebook. So all of these people matter to you. And they discover what matters to them on their mobile phone. So you have the great opportunity of reaching them where they are most engaged, right? Today we can't carry the TVs around. You don't typically carry a newspaper around, but everywhere you go, you carry the mobile phone around. So Facebook provides you with an opportunity to reach this audience on the mobile phones as and when you are talking to them, you're reaching them. So these are all the people who matter to you, and you have an opportunity to reach them where they discover what matters to them. And this happens every day, everywhere. So the map that you see right now is a map of how people across the world are connected with each other on Facebook. If you look to your right of the screen, you will see India and how well across the board India is connected, right? The misconception might be that, oh, the metros are very well connected with each other, but across India, we're not sure how many Facebook users are there in small cities and towns. This map proves to you that Facebook users are all across the country, and they're connected fairly well across the country. Before we go on, Kundan, can you please play the video?
What do you get when you take a chemical engineer, add some flowers, mix it with the traditional art of flower jadas used for decorating brides, and bring them all in the lab of entrepreneurship? You have Pelli Poola Jada. Kalpana was looking to start something of her own after her maternity break and chanced upon the idea of making flower decorations for a bride. She asked her mother to help her with designing and making them. Soon she started a Facebook page to market her offering and thus began her entrepreneurial journey in 2012.
So I was looking for an opportunity to come out of the job and then do something on my own. I started making in 2012. So 2012 we were 3 members, me, my neighbor and my domestic help, and we got so many orders, business picked up. Now we are a 36 branch team with 36 branch managers and 200 employees.
Someone once said that he didn't let education get in the way of his learning. The same can be said of the staff of Pelli Pula Jada, most of them women. Ask them about their marketing strategies and you will be surprised with their finely honed social marketing skills, especially using Facebook for business development.
We are fortunate enough to take the Facebook route. If we had to reach the same stage with the direct marketing, it would have taken around 15 to 20 years. But I have used the technology to the fullest. Facebook page I opened and I concentrated only on the Facebook page. Any advertisements, anything, any marketing thing, I left it to the Facebook. So getting franchises, and after I get photos from the brides, I'll post them back in the Facebook again, and I'll tag them so that their friends and relatives can see the page. And Facebook page I have used to the fullest. Like I use the manage replies tab. When I'm going for a vacation, I post all the scheduled posts for a week and then take the vacation.
As Pelli Pula Jada continues to spread the fragrance of flowers through their products and ensures that the spotlight stays on the bride on her special day, what is interesting is how this business has also made a telling difference in the lives of so many women who make a decent livelihood through this.
All right. So now you saw how Upna and her team has used Facebook to their advantage in creating such a niche business, but that's now spread across the world and about 36 branches that she talks about, more than 200 people who work with her. So as I was saying, you have seen and you heard Kalpana's story in terms of how they use the power of social media and power of Facebook to create a sustainable niche business that supports about 200 women and also now has grown into 36 branches. These stories are everywhere. We've got thousands of such entrepreneurs across the world and in India as well who have used the reach that's available to them and created successful businesses, successful organization, wide-reaching messages. Over the next half an hour or so, we will talk about how you can do the same thing. There is a lot to be learned and shared. We can't possibly cover it all in half an hour. So what I'll try and do is I'll try and hit on the main points. We will break that up into 4 different categories. And after we are done, I'll also introduce you to our online learning system that has 50 different modules that allow you to learn everything that we are talking about in much more detail at your own pace through e-learning modules and webinars that we have available as well. So today is just the beginning of your Facebook journey. I'm hoping that more and more of you guys can use our online platforms and gain from it. So over the next half an hour, we'll go through 4 stages. One is create a page. I'll spend the least amount of time here because I assume most of you or every one of you already have a Facebook page. If you don't, it's fairly easy to create one. I'll show you where to go. We'll spend most of our time on talking about different strategies that create engaging posts. This is the most important part. As they say, content is king. Then we'll talk about promote your business. So let's say if you have a marketing budget, how do you use that marketing budget? What are some of the salient features that Facebook offers? And then at the end, one of the most important things again, how do you manage and measure your performance? So with that, I will get into how do you create a page. Before we go into that, the one thing to remember is a page is different than a profile. Right? A profile is for an individual. A page is for a business and organization. So profile represents you, the authentic self, and then page represents the business, the organization that you support or that you take care of, right? So if I'm Ritesh Mehta and if I run a bakery, then my bakery should have a page and I should have a profile. How do you create a page? You simply go to facebook.com/pages, and then there is a guide that will talk you through how do you create a profile photo, details, profile page, a cover photo for your page, etc. So there is a self-guided process that will take you through creating of the page. One thing that I want to make sure you guys all if you don't have a page already, and when you create one, ensure that your address, hours, phone, email, website, all the other information that you provide for your page are highly accurate. If you don't have the right information for people, they will not be able to reach you at the right time, at the right place. So do not worry about privacy concerns. We take care of we take privacy and user data very, very seriously. This is not shared when it shouldn't be shared, but you are essentially giving everybody a chance to make sure that they're able to get in touch with you when and where they should be able to get in touch with you. The beauty of technology that we provide is essentially when you create a page, you don't have to worry about whether this page is for an iPhone, an Android phone, a tablet, or a desktop, or a laptop. You create a page as if you would create any other page, and we will make sure the page shows up correctly, whether it's being displayed on any of the platforms that we support. When you create a website, that's not the case. When you create a website, you have to make sure that you build a mobile website or a mobile app or a laptop friendly or a tablet friendly website. They all have different technologies. Facebook takes care of that when you are creating a page for your organization. With that out of the way, we will move on to posting, right? So how do you create engaging posts? How do you create engaging content? This is a question that everybody asks, right? Let's say you are an enterprise that sells homemade snacks. You probably make 150 different things. How do I create engaging content for 150 different things? Right? That's a question that everybody has. But there is an answer to that, right? First of all, what's important to remember is types of content that you can create. You can create a very simple page post, right? So this is, let's say if you're a bakery, you can say Diwali is a week away, add some sweets to the sparkling occasion with cakes from TSI. Every now and then you can use a page post, but this is the least engaging. Just text is never that engaging. You always want to make sure that you're using visual clues. So post photos. For example, if you're a non-profit and you have an activity going on, make sure that you post this on-ground activity photo or in the field activity photo and engage your audiences. So you can do a photo post with a quick caption underneath. You can do a video post, right? So every now and then you also want to make sure that while you are using 50 or 60% of your posts are photo posts, you also want to make sure that you're using videos as your posts. And these videos also need to be engaging. These videos need to be short, right? So the one statistic that I would like to share here is if you're unable to hook a viewer within the first 15 seconds of your video, they're not going to see the rest of it. Right? So you want to make sure that the best message that you have to deliver comes within the first 15 to 20 seconds. And then once that has hooked your viewer, the video on Facebook should be anywhere between 1 minute to 2 minutes maximum. You want to make sure that you're able to capture the message that you're trying to say within the 2.5 minute period there. The other thing to remember is people experience your message as part of their native experience on Facebook. So what does that mean? Right? What that means is, let's say if I am going through my Facebook feed, first of all, I will come across my cousin's post who is creating homemade jam, and he's posted about that. Then you would have posted about your product or your services, and then below that I'll see a post from my friend who's posted about office decorations around 15th of August or 26th January. Right? So your post is likely to show up between these two posts, which means you are competing for attention. So you have to make sure that it stands out, and it also feels very natural to what people are seeing. And the good news is on all of that is people who come to Facebook regularly check their news feed 14 times a day. So there are lots and lots of opportunities for you and your messages to show up amongst people's newsfeed, but it also means that you have to work that much harder because you have to stand out with your content. So how do you stand out with your content, right? It all starts with knowing the goal of your organization, your post, your strategy, right? So, and at one point of time, you want to make sure that you're only optimizing for one goal. So let's say if you have a store, are you trying to bring people to your store? If you have if you run an NGO or if you run a social enterprise and you have a physical presence, is your goal to get people to come and visit you? If that's the case, then your post has to be catered around that, right? You have to make sure that you're talking about, come and join us for an activity, or take 40% off when you come and visit us on Wednesday between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. So you have to talk about that, and you have to make sure that the post caters to that. If your goal is to generate leads and sales, then you have to talk about that, which means if you have a website and you want to drive people to your website, you have to make sure that the post is catered around that, right? You are giving them the links, you're telling them why they should go and check your website out, or they should go and visit a different page where you are running a different initiative. So your messaging and your photos and your videos have to be catered around that. If your goal is to create awareness about an initiative or new products, you have to make sure that you don't mix that message with driving sales. Right? Creating awareness and driving sales or driving signups are two very different things. If you're creating awareness, talk about why that initiative is important, or why the product is different, or what's new that you are launching. Once you have a goal in mind, right? So those are the 3 example goals, but you can have 3 or 4 or 5 different goals that your organization tries to achieve. You need to identify one of them. Once you've identified a goal, you then have to move on to identifying the audience, right? So are you targeting young people, or are you targeting older people? For both of them, the messaging will have to be different, right? Let's say if you are an NGO and you are trying to get volunteers, young volunteers are going to be attracted to different types of things than older or middle-aged volunteers. You will have to cater to that. If you are targeting city folks versus less urban folks, your messaging will have to change that. As you target audiences from different states, you feel free to use native language, right? So if you are somebody who works primarily in Uttar Pradesh, make sure that some of your messages are in Hindi. If you are somebody who primarily works in Telangana, make sure some of your messages are in Telugu. You have to make sure that you cater your messages to your audiences, and each time you create a post or create your content, you have a very clear audience in mind. There is no such thing as a generic audience, one size fits all. You have to make sure that most of your content is catering to one or the other audience. Once you've done that, then you have to figure out and say, what is the theme for this post? Is the theme an employee telling a story, right? So you have a social enterprise, and one of your employees creates these beautiful bags out of waste. You have to tell the story in terms of how she got the idea. When was the first time she created a bag? What was unique about them? And then what has happened since then, right? So an employee telling a story, they're telling a story about themselves, but they're also putting a product, a service, a goal in front of others. Let's say if you're a restaurant, right? A new dish to bring back customers is a great theme, because then you're talking about how that fits into healthy eating, etc., right? So you have to make sure that you have a theme and a very clear theme in mind that you identify, and then you build your content around. Once you've done that, there are different types of themes that to keep in mind, right? So for example, another theme could be regulars who come to your business all the time. You feature them. So you have a volunteer who works with kids very regularly. You should feel free to tell the story of that individual, feature them. The benefit of this is, let's say I come to your organization and work with kids all the time. You decide to do a story on me, and you post my photo and you talk about how I work with kids, and you tag me. Once you have tagged me, all of my 950 friends are able to see that and say, oh, Ritesh was tagged in this organization's post. And then they get intrigued and say, okay, what does this organization do? This is a great story. I will also share that on my profile, which means now my friends and their friends are also able to see this every time somebody engages with it. So by building other people's stories into your content, you are not only telling a more personal story, but you're also getting the benefits of virality, which is what social media is really catered towards and geared up for. So you want to make sure that you're not only telling your story, but you're also telling other people's stories through your page ongoing. The second thing that you can build a theme around is atmosphere. Right? This is a key selling point that you take for granted all the time, but others would love to see and hear more about. whether you have a fancy environment or a very basic environment, people will associate once they see your workplace of work. They will engage more, they'll associate more, they're able to see what they can be a part of. Right? So let's say you are Copper, the organization, and your artisans create beautiful things out of copper as part of this initiative. When you see them in their environment working in a workshop, people are able to see where the products come from. They're able to connect more. They're able to see and say, like, these individuals either A, have a great place of work, or they're going through a lot in order to deliver a great looking product to me. And I now have a personal connection to this product that I've just seen built. If you're a non-profit, this is equally important for you as well. When you do field work, that will create some of the most engaging visual stories that you can show people and say, this is what you can make a difference in. Right? If you go and work with economically disadvantaged individuals in villages, it's a great way to tell to tell a story by showing the photos and saying, this is where you can go and make a difference, or here are the conditions that these folks are living in, and your donation or your time or your efforts can make a real difference in that scenario. And so you have to make sure that you are consistently showing how your working environment is playing a role in the larger theme, the larger narrative that you're trying to build. If you another theme could be unusual things, right? It could be unusual products, unusual services, unusual places that you go and do work in. Very few people who live in the cities will get to experience what a true rural life would look like, and then if they can do that for a cause, they would love it. So you have to talk about how it's only 40 kilometers from the city, but there is this opportunity to volunteer where they can come and learn a trade and also help people who are trying to save that trade. Or you can talk about an unusual item that your people make, right? Let's say you make, as I said earlier, bags that people can take shopping, but these bags are made out of old clothing that have been recycled and sanitized. That is a great story that you can tell people and say, this is recycling at its best. You are helping the environment, you are helping entrepreneurs, and you are also helping society by taking part of that. So when you have these unusual items, you want to make sure that you are featuring them as part of your theme on an ongoing basis. Other tips could be tips and recommendations, right? So let's say if you are somebody who makes bags, you can tell people and say, this is how you take really good care of these bags. If you are an organization that makes snacks for people, you can give them tips and tricks in terms of how are these snacks made, what are some really cool recipes, etc. Right? So whatever you are an expert at, you want to make sure that you are providing tips and recommendations for that. It's a really great video. If you go to Breakthrough India, which is an NGO that works on safety initiatives, on their page, they talk about how girls and women can be safe in the environment, and they've done a really small, sharp, animated video that they provide tips and recommendations around. They don't push their agenda. They're simply talking about how you can be safe in certain surroundings, and that's a great way of trying to engage people who have varied interests. If you make products and people use your products, show them in action, right? Somebody wearing a scarf that you've made, show that to them. Somebody using the utensils that you make in their homes, in their businesses, feature those pictures in your stories and make sure that you are giving people a visual aid in terms of how the products that you create, the services that you create, add a lot of value in people's lives on an ongoing basis. The last theme that I will talk about is the value that you create and how this is usually undersold. So for example, let's say you are an organization that creates hand-printed dupattas, and you work with rural artisans to do this. because you use the ethically sourced materials and you pay all of your artisans a fair wage or more than a fair wage, your products are slightly more expensive, but they also last twice as long because you use really good quality products. You should not hide the fact that your products are expensive, but you should instead talk about why they're expensive and the amount of value that you deliver, right? So let's say if a mass-produced cotton dupatta sells for 200, but yours sells for 300, you should tell the story why the 300 is actually worth the value of 600 because it lasts 3 times longer. Everybody was paid a fair wage, and it has created employment for 3 or 4 more people than it would otherwise. And so you have to make sure that you talk about the value that you deliver, either through the donations that you generate, through the products that you create, through artisans that you support, through all the causes and all the things that you provide. So the value that you deliver is one of the most important things that people typically don't talk about. So I want to make sure that all of you take this away and talk about the value that you create, regardless of the price that people pay. So that's essentially the best practices when it comes to creating really good content, right? So in general, if I had to recap that session, what I would say is, A, you have to have a very, very clear goal in mind once you start to create content. You have to make sure that you are creating content for a specific audience. It should be one goal for one audience, and then once you've done that, there is a variety of themes that you can pick from, whether it's employee telling a story, you are delivering a value, unusual items, tips and tricks, lots of different things that you can pick from. And as you go along there, you are consistently refining your messaging and your imagery as you go along. Remember that you are creating content for people to consume on mobile phones. So if you type 12 sentences, people are not going to read. Try and keep it to 4 to 5 sentences max so that people are able to read and consume content much more effectively. So let's say now you've created the really good content and you also have some budget available for marketing. How do you use Facebook's paid marketing options? I will go through this fairly quickly. And there are lots of online resources that will be available to you. I'm not an Facebook ads expert, so let's keep all of your questions that would be for ads for all the online resources that we have, and I will try and provide as much details as possible within a short period of time on that. Remember earlier we talked about how people check their newsfeed 14 times a day, right? Which is a great news, but it also means that you have to compete very, very hard. Because people have short attention spans. So how do you make sure that if your content does not organically show up in people's newsfeed, are there other ways for you to make to get them to see your content? The other thing is only the most relevant content is shown in newsfeed as well. So not every single piece of content that your page creates will go to every single individual who has liked your page. Right? So if you want to make sure that there are certain messages that you want to push to people, are there ways available for you to do that, and Facebook ads can be one of those ways that you can do that. And the other way that this helps is it also helps expand the reach. If you are trying to reach people without Facebook at all, you have a really small reach because other online platforms, you don't have the same amount of reach available, whereas Facebook gives you that reach. This is a no-brainer. We're not going to spend any time here. But this broad reach is also very targeted. Right? So you can pick and choose who are the type of people that you are reaching. And here are the 2 examples. Let's say there is Sameer out there who's age 25, lives in Sikandrabad in Hyderabad, and Sameer is interested in Indian arts and painting. And then you have Amit who lives in Madhapur in Hyderabad. Amit is an interior decorator and prefers to buy local art to decorate homes and businesses. Now assume that you create artisanal paintings that are done in remote villages. Both Sameer and Amit are your target audiences. Right? There is a way for you to target both. You can create an ad that says target people between age 25 to 30 or to 35, and then you can create another ad set that says target people 45 to 55. And then you can create different types of content for both of them, and then different type of text, different type of images, and then Facebook ads will allow you to push these to specific type of individuals who are on our platform, using the platform every single day. Variety of ways to do that. The easiest thing is you would have seen the option to boost your post, promote your post, all of this can be done through options that you have available for your page, where you have advertising options. Lots of different goals that you can do. So essentially you can promote your page, you can send people to your website, you can increase conversions of your website. If you have an app, you can get installs for your app, you can increase engagement within the app, you can reach people near your business, so people who live around you. If you have certain events coming up, you can raise attendance at your events. So lots of different things that you can do through Facebook ads. One of the really cool things about the ad is you can target very, very specifically. So you can say, only show this ad to people who live within a 20-kilometer radius and who are between age of 18 and 35 and who are only women. If you sell those things, those targeting options are widely available for you. There are more advanced demographics. So if you want to target people by interests, by behaviors, by other categories, you can do all of those. You can even get more sophisticated and say add a connection type. All of these things, we have self-learning modules available. So towards the end, I'll introduce you to our blueprint program, where there are 50 different self-learning modules, as I said, are available, and they talk about all of these options in detail along with page posts and all of the other topics that we discussed earlier. Budget. The common misnomer is you have to spend a lot of money. That is not true at all. You can start with as little as 100 rupees a day and try and test things out. But you decide the budget. Facebook does not force you to pick a specific budget, but then once you pick a budget, Facebook does give you an estimate and say you will be able to reach 500 people, 1,000 people, 5,000 people, 150,000 people. You can create your ads with existing content that you have on your page, or you can create brand new content for your page as well. Once you create an ad, we will make sure we optimize that to be shown on desktop, mobile, right-hand column, Instagram. Now you have the option to create an ad that show an ad on Instagram the same way that you show on Facebook. So you only have to create one ad, and you can actually show it on both Facebook and Instagram. So I highly recommend that you guys try it out and see how you can leverage various platforms that we have available. You can also reach people near your business. So for example, you want to set up a local awareness campaign. Once you create an ad, you're able to specify and say, show it within 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers within from where my business or where my organization is located. This is really useful when you're trying to drive volunteers, for example, for a specific event or attendance or awareness, or if you sell products that are perishable. This is a great way to run flash sales as well. You set your budget, it works exactly the same way. There are lots of targeting options. As I said, you can target by education, you can target by marital status, you can target by hobbies, you can create custom audiences, you can create lookalike audiences, you can, if you have websites, you can import the data, and then you can also set up custom audiences based on that. As I said, we will not go into deep details around those. Your best option for them is to go and learn through our online resources. There are lots and lots of them out there. Lookalike audience, I'm going to skip through this fairly quickly. Custom audience, same thing, because they get fairly technical. Let's spend a little bit of time on budget. As I said, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can start with as little as 100 rupees a day. The ads run for as long as you want them to run for. You can say run my ads for a week. You can say run my ads until I exhaust my budget. Or you can say run my ads for ever for 6 months, spend 100 rupees every day, and you have my credit card, and then we will do that. But we will never do what you don't ask us to do. So if you set a budget and say end the ads in a week, we will end the ads in a week. So let's say you've created a page. Now you have created posts. You've also used these posts, ads to boost these posts and get your word out to a lot of people. How do you know it's working? So measuring your success or lack of success is the most important thing, because looking at your analytics and statistics is going to tell you what's working, what's not working, and what you need to do a better job on. You do all of that through page insights and ads insights. So we'll first talk about page insights. So if you go to your page, you will see an option to view insights, the red box that you see highlighted. Once you click on that, we will show you all kinds of really, really cool metrics. So how many page likes do you have? How many new likes have you gotten? Post reach, is it going up or is it going down? Engagement, is it going up? Is it going down? What type of content are you creating that's engaging the most? Who's engaging with it? So are most of your fans male or female? What cities do they come from? What states do they come from? What languages do they speak? What age groups do they fall into? You have all of this information. Think about this. When you run an ad on TV or when you do a newspaper ad, none of these metrics are available to you at your fingertips. But we try and make sure that we give you as much data as possible, because with this data, you are able to make informed decisions in a timely manner. Posts, we'll also tell you on which day, how many people saw your post and which posts did the best, and at what time of the day it did the best, right? So if your audience is most likely to be engaged at night after work, you will see that data in here so that you know that your most important posts need to go out in the evening after 6 p.m. and not at 12 p.m. when none of them are actually looking at your content on their mobile phones. Right? So this data actually helps you determine what type of post do you create, when do you post, who is your key target audience, who are you not doing the best with, so that you can adapt your strategy and build content accordingly. We show you detailed statistics about each of the posts that you also make on your page. How many people did it reach? How did they engage with it? In comparison of other posts, did it do well or not well? How much of it was organic reach versus how much of it was paid reach? You have all of these statistics. So with all of that data, you can also see that once you have enough content, we'll suggest different types of pages that you should consider following, right? So then you can compare and say, if I have a nonprofit, is there another similar nonprofit that I can compare my performance against and see how well am I doing with them? Can I learn from them? Are they doing things that I should be doing? So all of these options are available to you as well. The best part is there is an app that allows you to see all of these, do postings and do all kinds of things. It's called Pages Manager app, available for both Android and iPhone as well as Windows Mobile. So you can download it and then do everything from your mobile phone, post, schedule posts, all the cool things that you can do on a laptop. You can do all of that and more from your mobile phone through the Pages Manager app. I highly, highly recommend all of you guys to download it so that you can manage your pages on the go. Ads Insights, the same way that you have Pages Insights, you have Ads Insights. It tells you the same things, which campaigns are performing well, what is the cost per acquisition, how much have you spent, when do your campaigns end, on a day-to-day basis, how much money are you spending. And again, there is an app for that as well. So the same way that you have the Pages Manager app, you have the Ads Manager app. You can stop your campaigns, start campaigns, update billing. You can do all kinds of cool things through your ad manager campaign. Right. So with that, I've done a lot of talking in the last 45 minutes. And I'm also leaving you guys with a lot of information. Again, as I said, the great news is it doesn't start there. It doesn't end here. It only starts here. So Facebook Blueprint, you can see it at facebook.com/blueprint. If you go there, you should be able to see a few different types of trainings that we have available. Let me quickly show you what it looks like. All right, so as now you should be able to see my screen where it shows the Facebook Blueprint. If you can see facebook.com/blueprint takes you there. You can build your skills. You can see how well you want to, how quickly or how slowly you want to learn, and it can be accessed either through your mobile phones or through your web page or through your laptops as well. All you have to do is click on Start Now, and it will show you different categories here at the bottom of it. So whether you are first starting out on Facebook or whether it's the best practices, so you can click on best practices and it will show you brand best practices, creative best practices, successful campaign best practices. If you are interested in learning about Facebook pages, again, you will have things around Facebook pages that you need to how do you create a Facebook page, introduction to Facebook pages. If you want to learn about targeting, it will show you how you can learn different types of targeting, advanced targeting, basic targeting. If you are a small business, what are the types of things that you can do for a small business, right? So ad policies, ad manager, campaign structure, billing, fast track programs. You can do all kinds of interactive learning on your own using using the blueprint program that we have created for people who want to learn advanced skills around here. So with that, we have come to the end of our presentation bit. Over the next half an hour, I'll try and answer as many questions that I can. So Kundan, if you want to get started with that.
So the first question is by Ansuman Mohapatra. What should be the time period for which a post should be actively circulated to gain maximum attention of the target audience?
Right. So there is no one answer to this. There are, let's say if you have a time-bound initiative that you have the post running for, then it's essentially for that time period. But otherwise, what we try and recommend is, as a page, you post at least a couple of times a day, which means that one post should go on for a few hours before you post the next one. There are several different strategies out there. There are very successful pages out there who post 10 to 12 times a day, because they know that out of those 10 or 12 posts, people are likely to see 1, 2, 3, or 4 maximum posts out of that. So they want to make sure that they have equal number of opportunities or as many opportunities as possible for their content to go out in front of people. So there is no, Anshuman, there is no single answer to sort of like how many days you should let the post go on for. It really depends on your goal, and ideally you should post multiple times a day so that you don't run into the situation of you only have a certain number of posts that you're posting within a week or so, because you want to keep your users engaged.
The next question is by Ambika Nehru.
Hi. So I wanted to know how, you mentioned that groups are becoming very popular, and I want to know how a group works differently from a page, because I can't imagine selling directly on a group would work or appeal to anybody who's on the group. So can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure, I can, Ambika. And Ambika, if you don't mind giving me a little background about your organization and what you do, that'll be great.
Sure. Sorry. My organization is ASYA. We have a Facebook page called ASYA Store. We work in collaboration with an NGO in UP doing chicken curry embroidery. We put it onto t-shirts for women and children because we want to do something different and keep it relevant to the newer generation who's moving away from traditional garments, and traditional garments are becoming more occasion wear. So we're moving it onto t-shirts, and we're giving it a modern twist. So we do we do motifs that are like contemporary, but we keep the traditional work. So we're helping keeping the work alive as well as keeping it relevant to the current generation.
Got it. Thank you so much. So the way groups work, they are set up more as one-on-one or one-to-many communication channels, versus page is more a one-to-many outward communication channel. Right? So for example, in your case, the group would actually do really, really well. And I will give you an example from UP about chicken curry. There is a lady called Supreet Bhatia who lives in Kanpur. She has a page named Lucknowi Andaz. She sources all of her chicken curry stuff from all over UP and sells it through her page. But she also has a group that she has added all her regulars to. And when she posts something on a page, she also posts this within the group. What she sees is the page is really great to reach out to new individuals to talk about new products and ongoing things that she is bringing up. Whereas a group is where she interacts with the regulars who tend to buy from her most often. Right? So there she can also give a way more personal experience to these individuals because they can have conversations. On a page, it's not conducive to have a conversation because everybody can see it. A group is only part of people who are within that group are the ones who are going to see it. So a detailed conversation is much easier because you have lesser number of people. Whereas a page is more of a broad scale communication channel where you are pushing out your messaging, but you're not necessarily having a two-way conversation. So in your case, what you can do is you can create a group where you make the option available for individuals who have already liked the page and say, hey, we also have a group where we have fairly active conversations, and these active conversations could be about products, or it could be about technique, or it could be about gathering feedback. It could be any conversations that you want to have with regulars, and that group can serve that purpose, right? So you can easily have both of them running in parallel, one serving one specific purpose versus the other serving a more of a communication channel purpose.
The next question is by Amarnath Shatkar. Handicrafts are favored usually by elderly people, but social media is used more by the younger generation, specifically people who are between 18 to 25, who are not even financially independent to buy these handicrafts. So how could this kind of targeting happen when the audience whom you're trying to reach is very different from from the people who participate on Facebook?
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Amarnath, for your question. So I would politely somewhat disagree with the statement that only elderly people are interested in handicrafts, and I have some really good examples to show as well. So we just finished a tour in UP where we went to 5 different cities and sort of talked about how Facebook can be used to encourage businesses, and most of the people who are interested were actually the youngsters. There are also pages, Facebook pages that sell handicrafts and handcrafted clothing and articles and toys that young people are really, really interested in. So things are changing very, very quickly. As long as the product is geared towards a younger audience, they would lap it up, and a fair number of 21 to 25 or 21 to 30 age group have especially in cities, have disposable incomes that they can spend on this. The beauty of Facebook actually is that not only young users are on Facebook. So young users came onto Facebook first, but now the fastest growing age group of new users coming on Facebook is actually the 35 and older age group. So if that is your target audience, that age group is growing very, very quickly, and I'm sure you see that as more and more of your relatives and friends who are in the older age group come onto Facebook. I definitely see it with my friends and my family members who are older, who are coming onto Facebook and are being connected. So you'll be surprised by how interested the younger population is in handicrafts, as long as it's designed for their taste, and B, more and more elderly or middle-aged people are also coming onto Facebook very, very quickly. So that audience is quickly building up, and I highly recommend you try out targeting for them. I'm sure you'll see strong results there as well.
There is a follow-up question by Amarnath, so I would read out that also. As WhatsApp is a part of Facebook now, could you please share something about marketing through WhatsApp? Because when we think of mobile, we think of WhatsApp first and then Facebook.
That's true, and this is a question that everybody asks us everywhere I go in India. The challenge here, Mr. Amarnath, is WhatsApp as it's currently designed is not set up to be a marketing platform. It's still currently set up to be a primarily messaging platform. So we don't have tips and tricks on for WhatsApp, but please be rest assured the teams are working on it. And we should have something in the next few months that we are able to share. But at this point, we don't have anything detailed that I can share the same way that we can share for Facebook. But we take the feedback seriously. I'm glad you see it as an opportunity for marketing, and we will come back with something fairly soon, on specifically on WhatsApp.
The next question is from Ivan Rebello. Ivan has a problem with his mic, so he'll not be able to ask directly, but I'll read out the question for him. Can you please talk more about the Facebook algorithm? If you post several times a day, does it cannibalize your previous posts?
Right. So the way it works is every time you make a post, it does not automatically go to every single person who has liked your page. We try and show each of that post to somebody who is most likely to engage with that post. Now coming to your question, which is, if you post multiple times a day, is it going to cannibalize your previous post? It will not. let's say you have 5,000 people who have liked your page. Out of these 5,000, 2,000 people are most likely to engage with it. And out of the 2,000, 500 engage with it all the time. So when you make multiple posts, the 500 people who are engaging with it the most often are going to see most of your posts. Whether you post 2 times a day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, they're likely to see 2 or 3 posts. This happens with me. For example, I like the news organization pages and I engage with them the most because I see Facebook as a way to consume news most of the time. Whether if they post 18 times a day, and they do, I typically see 8 to 10 of them regularly. Right? Facebook has also figured out that I tend to engage more with the political news and more social issues and less with entertainment and sports. So I see less and less of entertainment and sports, and I see more and more of political and social causes related posts. So through user behavior and like wide scale analysis, we will try and make sure that your posts go to as relevant of an audience as often as possible without affecting their experience on our platform. So you should not worry about cannibalizing. We will try and make sure that it gets in front of as many people who we think will like to see it.
The next question is by Gaurav Kandel.
I have 2 questions actually. First of all is how do we get to know the country specific traffic insight in context to day and time zone? Like I come from Nepal and I hardly find a time, I'm like late, let's say what time does the youth traffic come in? Like I can see that from my page, specific page, but how do I see that for the entire country? Second is there are websites like pagebam.com that actually converts a Facebook page automatically to a website. So does Facebook have its own or is planning to do so?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tandon, for your question. The second question is easier to answer, so I'm going to answer that first, which is we don't have any plans of creating any tools that help you convert from page to a website, because we think page serves as a great platform for organizations and businesses. So please don't expect anything anytime soon from us or ever. And to answer your first question, which is it possible for you to know granular insights at a country level? For all the user insights that we deliver, they are always at the overall audience level and not at the country level. So unfortunately for you, it won't be possible and say, let's say if your audiences come from 3 different countries, do they, for each of those countries, how do they get access to or when do they access their Facebook accounts? This is that's too granular of a detail at this point for us to be able to provide. So I will take your feedback and I will see if we can pass it on to our product teams. But at this moment, that's not a feature that we are actively working on.
The next question is from Amrit. Amrit is having some technical difficulties, so I'll read out the question for him. Isn't too much content and information of every company reduce the chances of people remembering your company, especially for a new organization? How do you start differentiating so that people can start following your page more than the competitors or other organizations in the sector?
Right. Thank you, Mr. Amrit, for your question. Especially if you're a new organization, I wouldn't worry about having too much content diluting your message, because remember, each piece of content that you post has a unique goal, has unique audience, and has a unique theme. So every time you send out a message, you're trying to actually deliver a different message. So it's important to make sure that you do have multiple pieces of content so that all of your different messages go out. Also, different people consume messages differently. So let's say you're trying to solicit volunteers. You will have 3 or 4 different ways of soliciting volunteers, and you want to make sure that you give each one of them a shot. So by trying to do the same, trying to achieve the same goal with 4 different themes or 4 different strategies is not going to dilute your message. It's going to increase your chances of success. Also, in today's world where there is so much content out there, they're not going to see all of your 10 posts that you make within a 2-day period, right? So you want to make sure that you give yourself every single opportunity to get in front of people. In terms of how do you stand out, what we have seen what the best in terms of people standing out is representing an authentic voice. If you are an organization that focuses on welfare of artisans in UP who work on chicken curry, you should tell stories around that, and you shouldn't try to be somebody who you are not, right? If you're not a commercial organization, don't focus too much on the commercial aspects. Focus most of your time on aspects that you know the best, where you drive the most amount of impact. The more authentic stories you tell, the more authentic experience you give to the people, the better they are able to connect with your organization, with your messaging, with your causes. So I think the best advice that we can give is to be your authentic self on platform and maintain that voice throughout so that people are able to connect strongly with you.
The next question is from a person called Joya Kritika. The rural handicraft sector in India is struggling badly, even after doing good in digital technology within the country. This digital technology and social media is somehow not reaching the rural artisans who can actually know what customer preferences are and what the customers are saying. The artisans are completely left out of this process because of issues like lack of finance, lack of literacy, and so many such factors. So how can Facebook help in getting them into the entire value stream?
This is a great point, and one that I saw firsthand, as I said, when we were in UP for 5 weeks and we are doing different districts, and then this is something that plays out across the country as well. The challenge of awareness, access to technology, and connectivity will continue to be there for the next foreseeable future, right? So there is, as Facebook, we cannot solve those problems, but what we can solve is we can solve for skill development. So one of the things that we are trying to do is we are taking teams of 12 to 15 people and then doing state-by-state tours where we go and talk to artisans and help them with creating a Facebook page, showing them one-on-one in terms of how do you create a Facebook page, how do you post content, how do you take a photo. But that doesn't scale very well, but we are at least trying to create awareness to that so that if we talk to one artisan, they'll talk to 5 others or 10 others that they know, and then word will spread through that. I think the most scalable solution to that is working with organizations like yours and Seva and a lot of other similar organizations that do wide-scale work. We create a train-the-trainer program because you have people going to the field all the time. Those individuals could be the change bearers for these artisans, where the artisans themselves may not have the smartphones or may not have the know-hows, but they have the products. When your field workers go out to them once a week or once every other week, they can actually serve as people who can take these photos and post on pages and try and help these individuals products out there in the market until we get to a point where connectivity becomes universal, access to smartphones and access to financing becomes universal. So I think we're going to have to play the makeshift role until we get to that point. And then once we get to that point, we will make sure that we are going out in the field and doing as many trainings as possible in partnerships with organizations that currently have scale across the country.
The next question is by a person called Tejas Rawal.
We want to know that is there any Gujarati interface or local language interface available for Facebook?
Hi Tejas bhai. Yes, there is a Gujarati interface available. I'm also myself a Gujarati, so I can assure that you are able to select a Gujarati interface for using Facebook, including pages as well. The translation is done by the community, which means that people like you and me who speak Gujarati, who understand Gujarati, help translate the site. So while everything may not be the best possible translation, that is where you and I can come and help. But Facebook is available in 13 different languages across India, and Gujarati is definitely one of them. So which means that when you go out to your farmers or your artisans who don't read and write English, but they can read Gujarati, they are able to use Facebook fairly easily by switching to the Gujarati interface.
The next question is by Shubhangi Singh.
Hi, Ritesh. So my question is that the work that my organization does is more content-based. And as you said that people use Facebook through the mobile, then how can we attract more people to a post/cause? Because my organization works, it's a feminist legal organization. So we actually cannot avoid not posting content-based.
Right. Right. So let's play this out, Shubhangi. If you can think of the last post that your organization made, can you say out of that long post, what was the key message that you were trying to deliver?
I'm sorry?
So the question I have is, I agree that you cannot avoid making slightly lengthy posts because the work that you do involves providing details.
Yeah.
Right. But you can find a good mix of details and key messages. So for example, if you, the last or the most important issue for you is the rights of women in a patriarchal society, right? So for example, like wills and all of that. That's a fairly complicated subject, has laws around it, they're constantly changing. But in order to capture the interest and make things easily understandable, what you can do is you can create a 3 or a 5 sentence summary of a 25 line post that you can talk, or the key message from that you can post, and you can probably link to another website or the actual detailed post that you have and say, if you're interested in reading more, please go here. So you can find a mix of, let's say half of your messages actually have details in them, because your audience is also likely to be more engaged when you provide them details. But to attract new audiences who don't yet know about it, you can try and post summaries of it. And so for example, I work on public policy teams, and we deal with laws and regulations all the time in part of our jobs. And our stakeholders are not all lawyers or folks who understand the legalities or in a detailed way. So what we typically do is we try and distill that, for example, the Internet Laws of India, we try and distill that into a fairly simple 3 to 5 sentence summary and say, here is the layman summary, but if you're interested in reading more, here is where you can read the section 66A for more details in terms of what does it mean for freedom of speech. Right. So it is possible by doing a quick short summary and then sending people for a more detailed explanation somewhere where they're able to satisfy the need for in-depth information.
The next question is from Anshuman Mahapatra. Is there any tool feature in a page where we can tag the relevant audience from many so that we can get the maximum reach through the tag option? Instead of tagging everyone individually, can we tag an entire audience? And this next question is, you conveyed that there are 13 Indian languages available on Facebook. Is Oriya one of them?
Hi Anshuman. I will answer the second question first. Oriya unfortunately is not currently one of the languages, but it is on our list, so you should expect to see it pop up sometime soon. Coming back to your audience targeting question, you can target specific posts to specific audiences. So for each post that you make on a page, you have the option to target them geographically. You have the option to target them by cities or by states or by countries, by languages, and you also can target each of the posts for a specific age group. So you can limit the targeting to specific types of audiences that are currently connected with your page. This does not include specific individuals. So it takes into consideration the audience demographics that we have, but it does not take into consideration specific individuals.
So the next question is by Swati Chaturvedi.
Hi Ritesh.
Hello, Swati.
I wanted to ask how successful are video posts vis-a-vis the written posts on a page? I mean, how likely it is that people will watch the video posts and not skip them? You know, because people are very, they're short of attention these days and they just want quick information.
Right. So from an engagement perspective, Swatiji, what we have found is video posts are way more engaging than the written posts because it's easier for people to consume the content when it's audio-visual versus trying to read through it. You also overcome the barrier of language when you do video versus when you do the written post. So the numbers definitely show that the video posts are way more engaging, but the key factor there is what I mentioned earlier in the presentation. If you deliver your key message within the first 15 to 20 seconds of your video post is likely to be very effective. But if you do not deliver your key message within the first 15 to 20 seconds, people lose interest and they drop out, which means they do not watch the full video. Right? So you want to make sure that when you're creating the video post, you're hitting them with the most important things at the beginning, and then you start to hand out details, or you have the call to action in the second half of the video. So in short, video posts are very engaging, becoming very, very popular as network conditions improve across the country. India is hungry for videos. We love videos. We are watching videos more than anybody else. So they are definitely the future. And especially with things like Facebook Live coming up, there are more and more ways that you can engage your audience through videos. But it's not easy, right? Because you have to create a really engaging piece of video. It can't just be any bad quality video, because then people are not going to get involved with it.
So this is the last question for the day. Considering that organizations today have websites, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, so many channels of sending out their content. So how do we effectively use them together? Because if website has the maximum amount of information and Facebook is for updates. So how do you use all these channels in an integrated way so that people don't lose our interest in the website and then come to the page, and or forget the page and then come to the website? How can these coexist together?
Right. So what I'll talk about is I'll sort of talk about the interaction between the website and the Facebook, because that is something that we focus deeply on. If you have most amount of your information on your website, you should use Facebook as a way to drive traffic to your website and to give people bits of information that are really engaging, and for details they can then go to the website, right? So it's a symbiotic relationship versus an either or. For example, Twitter is really great for really short messages in bursts that goes out to a very generic audience, whereas Facebook is really great for reach, right? You don't have 150 million people using Twitter on from India, but Facebook has that kind of reach. So, but website will never have that kind of reach because your website cannot be pushed out to millions and millions of people, whereas a Facebook post has the potential to. So there is a symbiotic relationship between all of these. The way I would look at it is website is a repository of information. Facebook is a way to get people interested in the most exciting bits of this information and then start to drive people either through detailed posts or linking back to your website in some posts or the other. But having said that, we have also seen that organic content, native content tend to work the best. So what you have to do is you have to find a balance between if I'm going to post 10 things on my website, which out of these 10, which things are most important that require me to reach out to a wide audience so that I can bring them back to my website and then get more and more people onto my website is one way of looking at it.
So we come to the end of the webinar. Thank you so much, Ritesh, for this interesting presentation on how to use Facebook.
And we also thank all the participants who have joined us this evening in this webinar. Thank you so much and goodbye.
Thank you everyone. Good night.